Welcome to the Weekly Roundup, the place where we unpack what's been going on in the wellness world and what we've been coaching our clients through. I am Bridget, and I am here with coaches Carol, Terry, and Josh. And we are stoked to be here and excited to kick off our conversation with Carol's absolute favorite topic, which is AI. So, Carol, why don't you just jump in there and just lay out all of
Please.
your thoughts?
Why are they doing this to me? I'm not
Okay,
even,
all right, fine, Terry, you start.
yes, somebody else, no.
Carol talks about AI so much she doesn't have anything left by the time we get to the
Yeah,
roundup.
exactly. Her other podcast is all about AI, so.
Oh my God.
Terry, tell us what is on your mind.
Oh, you mean anything? Or are we just talking AI?
What
I would think
specifically
specifically
singular
AI.
subject matter is on
AI,
your
okay.
mind and has been coming up around AI?
Okay, so specifically and singular about
Guardrails.
guardrails. Okay. And I'm on my soapbox about this a lot. And I've been asked, the clients are asking, obviously AI is at the top of everyone's mind. You cannot go onto your phone without something popping up in your newsfeed about something with AI. So it's here to stay. And the question I get is, what should I be using? What tools should I be using? How should I be using them? How can I use them in my business? And we've talked a lot about is that AI should be viewed as like your co-pilot. It's like, it's there to help and support you. But part of my soapbox, and it's like my soapbox, is that any tool you have, and it could be, a hammer, it could be whatever the tool is, you have to take the time to learn how to use it. Right. And I think if you're looking to AI as the magic pill to help you fix your business or fix this or do this for you, you're going to be disappointed again, because part of using AI is understanding it's all about prompts. It's all about it's garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. So it's like I would pick one thing, and I posted in the YC about this a while back about a tech company where they made it mandatory, AI Monday. Everybody in the entire organization had to be doing something to learn about AI, whether it's learning a program, whether it was watching some type of course series or whatever. And and what was interesting about that is people who resisted that and actively tried to, or passively actively tried to sabotage that. He ended up firing 80% of his staff across the board. And then it's not like he replaced them with AI. What he replaced them with is people that were bought into the direction of the company and how you can leverage AI. So I think if you're listening to this, thinking about, pick one aspect of your business and use AI for that. And one thing that came up this week was content. And we use it a lot. I use it a lot. We all use it a lot for content. It's like, if you're struggling with your email automations, start there. Learn how the prompts and things that you want. Let the chat bot put your website in there so that they can scan it and learn your brand voice. If you have your mission, visions, and values, put those in there. And then say, I want to write a series, or here's the emails I have right now. I'd like them to be more reflective of my message. I want this many emails about this, blah, blah, blah. And start using AI in that one aspect of your business. And then once you've got that dialed in, then you can go on to something else. But that would be my recommendation, is pick the thing where you feel you could really get some quick impact and you're going to learn, and focus on that rather than trying to do a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah.
I think it's a good recommendation. Simplify this thing down. Just the fact that we're saying AI, like as it's like saying internet, like, because this is internet 1995. Well, what is the internet? Like, how do you sum that up? It's a single word, but the practical application of it is enormous. And I don't know. It's not a normal conversation now for us to say the internet. Really, you talk about some specific thing within the internet. So that's where this will go. So I'd say, yeah, I think just pick one really simple thing. Like, keep it as simple as you can. helping write an email, write a blog post, figuring out a script for video you're gonna make for content, whatever. Like, and just kind of master that master that thing. I think, Carol, I'd be curious on your take on this. I think one of the resistance points that we, like, as human beings have to something like this is it feels non-human versus our come up, in that it feels like cheating for some people. It feels inauthentic. Like, people psychologically, internally, I feel like, myself included, resist it because we've spent our entire lives looking at the equation as it's hard and it's a skill that I have to acquire, whatever. And like, suddenly things that were, it's changing our value system. Suddenly things that required a decade to figure out how to get really good at writing. It's like, if you know the right prompt sequence and you have some critical thinking mindset, like, you just fucking can do it that good right now. And so I think there's that. It's like almost an imposter syndrome element of it. But on the other side, it's, I think, a natural resistance to the thought that it's unhealthy to outsource thinking. And I feel like that's the major risk right now. I see it with my son, for example. Like, outsourcing thinking to just blind trust in this thing, that's not quite the best use of it either. So I feel like that's where some of the resistance comes from. And it's like kind of an important detail to unpack for yourself, because if you can get to the other side of that, then you can see clearly how it can be powerful for you. Maybe jump in, Bridget. Carol's frozen in just the best possible.
Yeah. In the
Best way.
exact way she feels about this conversation was
She
reflected in the
froze
way she
in the
was
disgust
frozen.
of AI face that she has. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just have like so many thoughts. I'm also a little bit frozen. I think that's exactly right, Josh, about where the resistance comes from. I actually have pretty much moved on from that, but I did have that for a while. I use it I use ChatGPT basically. That's the main one. Is Asana technically AI?
No.
Like there's aspects of it that kind of are, but not
No,
really.
because of the AI trend right now, everyone and everything in every company has, like, even we were talking about Walla before, like,
Yeah.
you go to their website right now, powered by AI. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they've got AI in it, but like,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a
totally.
stretch. That's every company on the planet right now is
Yeah.
just chucking that
Yeah.
word in there.
So
We're coaching powered by AI. Like,
right, totally. Yeah. So I use ChatGPT. That's pretty much my only AI thing that I use. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but I use it all the fucking time. And do you know how what I think about it? Like why I don't bother anymore worrying about like outsourcing my thinking is that, I mean, I still think all the time and I'm still like analyzing alongside, right, to my detriment. But also, uh, I I have been thinking about it so much, and it's just like other CEOs, which I essentially am of my company, have an entire staff, like hundreds of people that do all these tasks for them. And I am utilizing this thing that cost me $21 a month to do so much. It has been so great for me as I've moved to like remote work, and I've been sort of in this like place where I'm kind of trying to figure out like do I need my manager to do more? Do I need like a second sort of person in sort of her position? And honestly, with how much I have like how much using AI has helped me like figure out systems better and automate things so much better. Um, I honestly, I feel a little bit like I'm using my manager less than I have in the past. And the work she's doing is less than she has in the past. I'll pass it on to Josh, but I do want to share eventually like a lot of the cool things that I'm doing with AI in my business and with ChatGPT in my business, but I'll pass it to Josh for now and then maybe I can swing back around.
Well, let's spin it right back to you in 1 second. I would just add to what you've just said that like the two areas that I feel like people in general, but especially owners when you have a team in a service-based business, like the two areas that I sometimes feel like screaming from the rooftops, like wake the fuck up, is the quality bar is higher now. There is no excuse for a bullshit message going out to a client anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, it shows a complete lack of understanding on something. And then also, it's an efficiency question, it's a speed thing.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
working with some clients right now where they're, one of their tension points is some people who are in a higher level seat, more a manager or a marketing or whatever role. And they're like, I'm just not sure. It feels like they're not quite getting enough done in the time frame that I'm hoping for. And I'm asking them about it. And they kind of are like, well, it's busy. And I'm like, okay, well, break it down for me. Like, what are they supposed to be doing or producing or whatever else? And twice it's happened where I don't even have to say like, yeah, they're not working as efficiently as they could. Twice it's happened where I don't even say it because we do the thing that they were supposed to do in the last 2 weeks that's not done on our coaching call in 15 minutes and
Yeah.
finish it.
Hmm.
And so now that's no shade on that person. It's the realization that as the owner manager, the bar on these things can be higher. It doesn't mean they know how to do it. So that's where your training effort now is to like empower them with how to leverage this in the correct way.
Hmm.
What are you using it for? What are some of your faves?
Oh God, so much stuff. Okay, so I created, which I think Josh, you were probably the first person that I like knew in my close orbit who said the phrase like creating a custom GPT. And I was just like, what the actual fuck are you talking about? Like, I cannot do that. I'm not a coder. Like, I can't. So I thought it was like this way more complicated thing. But then when I noticed it was just like available to me on this like $20 a month version, I was like, maybe it's not that complicated. So I have created many custom GPTs at this point, but like one that I've used this week several times is I created a honey yoga sales assistant, is what I call it. And so one of the things you have to do with AI that I think people don't quite get, and Terry was kind of speaking to this with like prompts and stuff. I feed AI really great content that I get from other sources, like maybe from the YC or like courses that I've done, because AI in itself, it does have like kind of remarkable stores of really pretty decent information. And you're kind of just, you don't, yeah, you want to know that what you're feeding it is quality and what it's like spitting out is quality. So I fed it all of my philosophies about sales. I fed it every piece of content I've ever received from different coaches, different programs that I've done about sales. I just like word vomited to it for 5 minutes at a time about like sales and connection and my studio and what I want it to feel like. So you do all this, you just you just feed it all this information really easily. And then it just is this like expert on honey yoga sales. And actually it's just a pretty good sales assistant for any like yoga studio. I actually used it today on a call with a client. We just wanted the phrasing of this was actually an in-person thing. I often use it for like text-based stuff, but this was like an in-person phrase we wanted to coach their team on. And we couldn't quite get the words right. So we just fed it to my honey yoga sales assistant and it spit out like the perfect sentence. We were like, we only want to use one number in this because of this, which is the human part, right? Like the first thing it spit out wasn't perfect because it was a little too many numbers. And so we were like, can you narrow it down so it's only saying, one number, whatever. Anyway, so the Honey Yoga sales assistant. So now my staff goes in, and if they're in a conversation with someone and the whole point of that conversation, like via text, say, is to convert this person to our membership. And they reply with something like, "Oh, I'm kind of on the fence. I'm really busy right now. My kid's in school, blah, 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 and I have to get them there, whatever." We feed them the exact message that the person sent, and it gives us back like this perfectly on brand, perfectly compassionate message that speaks to exactly what we want to speak to. And it's amazing. So that's one thing I do. I also just revamped all of my um conversion sequence, email sequence. And again, I fed it actually this great resource we have at the YC called our $1 million retention sequence. And I fed it that, and then also again, like a bunch of my own influence. And then it spit out this like sequence that was tailor-made to my 3-week intro offer. And then, of course, I go in and I make a lot of changes, but that the work of doing the first like dump of like the full structure is would have been a several day long project, if not more than that. And it did it in 20 minutes, like with if that's including all the information that I like gathered and put in. Yeah. So those are some of the things.
I love it. I want to add something, and I think you'd be able to apply this for yourself, because I think you already do it a little bit. There's this interesting skill that when you start getting deeper into the use cases of any AI platform, it forces you to develop, because you realize that in order for it to give you the output that you really want, you have to be very specific about that. That's exactly the same as training your staff. Like, these are the exact words I want you to say to this person in this order at this moment when they come to the front desk. And that we have, in the studio world, bar studio I was talking to recently said exactly this. They're like, well, I don't want to micromanage them. I'm like, wait, we're saying let's insert this line at this point to offer them your first purchase. And your response is, but that I don't want to micromanage them. And so there's a fear around that, like sort of like controlling element. That's a different conversation a little bit. The point being, though, the AI will fail at giving you the true version, your version of the thing, most times, unless you give it the specificity. So it's this idea that it needs context of what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, the details of how you want it to look afterwards, etc. And so it's usually not a single thing that you're doing. You're doing a conversation back and forth to refine something. And the second piece, and this is the one that I would add, is that the context window of a specific AI platform has a limitation. And that's one reason why you would use one platform for another. That's more technical than we need to even worry about in the beginning. But the point would be, if you keep going in a chat, let's say you want to write a whole email sequence, you give it a bunch of stuff, training up front, explain it all. The first email comes out perfect. You get to the sixth one, and then it starts fucking up. And you're like, no, that's not right. It starts to lose the context, the memory of what's happened. That's the same thing with your staff. You're like, hey, do this, here's the detail, whatever else. It does it, they do it. And then 2 weeks later, they've fallen back into the old habits or forgotten a detail or whatever else, because human nature. And you're like, what gives? I have to remind them again. Yeah, you do, because that's how that works. There's a context window. And with humans, it's different for each person and blah, blah, blah. But the point would just be, you don't just train AI and a bigger project on it one time. You always go back to, and don't forget, always like filter this through this, do a double check afterwards. Does it hit, like, does this abide by the 10 rules that we put in place for this project, et cetera, et cetera. You keep reminding it of that. And then you'll really get a powerful output. It forces you to develop that skill, which I think as an owner manager is like a really powerful skill just in general. Here's all the context of what we're doing. Here's what it looks like. I train you to do it. And then I'm going to keep reminding you. I'm going to keep the sword sharp, as we say. Yeah.
It kind of goes back to something else we were talking about before we started recording, is that the time you spend up front, will save you time on the back end. And so we were talking a little bit about these studio owners that sometimes we work with that always seem to be in a perpetual state of overwhelm. And, but if you spend time up front with some of these things, or like training up front, then it does save you time on the back end. So I don't know, again, that wraps into something else we might want to talk about. So taking it away from AI, maybe.
Well, same, but it really is the same thing, Carol. You're exactly
I-
correct. That like this upfront learning thing. Look, I'll just add to what you said, and then we can spin into this a little bit more. But it's like the second you say, I don't have time to do this thing, if that thing is building your business or fixing a problem in your business, like that is a strong sign of entrepreneurial burnout, because that's what that looks like. And the tough love piece is it's a strong sign that you're working on the wrong shit. And as a coach, like that's part of our job, is to kind of help highlight the truth sometimes. I have no doubt every owner is busy and has a full task list and lots of things in their mind to do and lots of people to do. Like, for sure, you're never not going to have a full task list. There will always be a million things to do. So if you're not getting what you want, inclusive of if you're working all the time and you're super fucking stressed out about your business and in a perpetual state of overwhelm, and it's paralyzing you to do the things that you really know probably are better for you, notice it. Bring some awareness to that. Like, normal thing to happen, but you can get out of it too, but you've got to first really start to be aware that it shouldn't be like that. Like, accepting that as the way it's going to be is not right. And it starts with like, where am I spending my effort? So the building the system thing is a good example of, yeah, you're right. It might take you a week to put together this whatever. It might take you a month to figure out how to better utilize AI for this one use case for yourself. But what's on the other side of that? And if you're not doing something like that, if you're not building your business, if you're not working on it, like literally, what the fuck, what are you doing? What the fuck else are you doing? Like, I know that there's stuff going on. I'm not saying that rudely. I've been there too. I'm just saying it's a weird thought sometimes. Like, I know I worked 45 hours this week, but I didn't build any of these systems to save me 5 hours next week. So what's happened?
Yeah. Or 20 hours next week. It's like crazy how much
Right.
good system. So
Yeah.
Carol, what do you say to your clients when they've been talking about this lately?
It's very much on a case by case basis. Sometimes it's a little tough love, sometimes it's sweeter. But, ultimately it is, what do you want to solve for, and if you can't make time for yourself to do these other more important things, you're just going to stay in that perpetual, I don't know, cyclone of every day. It's that point of like you need to figure out how to work on your business and not in your business. And for most people, it seems to me that it starts with training the staff, and the number of times I feel like, and this, we were just talking about this actually a little earlier with the staff members. Yeah, like you have to go back. You can't just, it's not a set it and forget it. You have to have clear expectations. And it's also interesting recently how many times I feel like I've seen owners, their systems are not strong enough to assume that the thing is going to get done. Somebody needs to check in and make sure that it's getting done. And that's like really, I'm like, what, why? Because we even went through with one owner and she's like, well, maybe I can have so and so check in on that after. because she was the one checking in. I'm like, no, 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 we want to create it where nobody needs to check in. We just know once it's checked out, we're done here, like that's what we're solving for. So there's no one that needs, and that to me is that micromanaging point, too, that we need to separate ourselves from. So, yeah, there's a lot to this. I'll let Josh take over here.
Oh, I would just add, like, man, you're hitting the nail on the head, dude. This is a constant ongoing thing. It's I'm having this conversation with some clients who are very deep in their business, like multi-location, they've been going for more than 10 years, they're making money, they're trying to expand, they're hitting a ceiling. And so now we're looking at, like, ceilings don't exist, limits don't exist in the business. They only exist within the current paradigm of how you are operating. And so in order to jump to the next place, something's going to have to change about you, about your team, about how you're operating. 9 out of 10 times, that thing that needs to change is systems level thinking. It's exactly what you're describing. We shift it from, can I get Terry to do this thing, to, can I build a system that the system itself, once Terry's trained on it, would enforce the outcome that I need to a certain whatever. And I guess the reasoning behind this, or like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow or whatever with this, is if you've done this well, the conversation that you would have if someone on your team was underperforming is completely different. There's a different conversation between, like, hey, Bridget, like, I think you suck, try to not suck so much. And now you and I are in a fight, and me saying, hey, Bridget, here's objectively what I can see has happened. Also, I know that you can do this because we trained you on it and you signed off on the training, and so did I. And we have this system that reminds you every day to do this. And we have this self-reporting follow-up, whatever, whatever. And now this is not happening. I must be missing something. How do I help you succeed? Because at that point, if someone's not performing, either the system's broken, which isn't even really a problem, it just means you can fix it, or the person is consciously opting out of doing their job, which is a good thing to know. That means, like, what are we doing here? Do you even want to be here? Not you suck, I fire you, but, like, clearly you don't want to do this, so what gives, kind of thing. It changes that conversation. It's a way easier conversation. All that human tension, drama, it's not totally out of it, of course, because it never will be, but it totally changes that angle altogether. Okay, let me add this to the mix. We use the term when we're talking about, like, AI and what do you, like, I was commenting earlier, like, one of the risks is this idea of outsourcing thinking. It's the same thing. It's like outsourcing something to one of your staff. Oh, well, this is how in business we end up with middle management, which, by the way, is dead in the water, shrinking, and it's gone. Middle management is one of the key areas in corporate world that is fucking dead right now, because it just will become obsolete. Simple as that. And so middle management happens because of what we just said. Oh, well, to make sure that the team is doing the thing they're supposed to be doing, I'll hire another person on top of them to check in that they're doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing. And then I'll have a manager above them to check in that the manager is checking in on the thing they're supposed to be doing. And, like, that's the system solution that we come up with, but that's not really a system. That's outsourcing. It's like, I'm going to outsource this effort to another person. Or with the AI example, I'm going to outsource my thinking, where I'm just going to say, oh, well, I hired Carol to make sure that Terry's doing her job. And so wash my hands of that. Like, I don't have to look at it anymore. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to improve it. Now it's Carol's problem. And that's where it falls apart. Because maybe Carol's a friggin' rock star and really good at managing the team, or maybe not. Or maybe it wasn't the team in the first place, it was the training, or maybe it's the system they exist within, etc. And so we're, like, looking at the wrong thing. If I need to write an email and I want to use ChatGPT to do it, if I just say, hey, write me an email that tells Bridget that her hat's pretty sweet, and then I just don't even read it, copy, paste, send. That's outsourcing all the effort, all the thinking. That's not, that will be a detriment in the long run. So it's like, understand, in both cases, I would debate, it's like, this is a learning question, actually. It's the deeper underneath level of understanding around the core principle that we're trying to apply in whatever the scenario is. Example, as a kid in school, you might be taught to memorize your times tables. Someone could theoretically memorize the times tables 0 through 100 and be able to pull that up and answer simple math questions. But if somehow they do that and they don't have the fundamental understanding of what happens in multiplication, why is 2 times 2 4? How does that work? Then you don't actually understand the core principle below it. And so you get outside of the scope of what you've memorized and you can't apply it anymore. You can't look at it critically. So whether it's AI or training in your business or systems or whatever, it's like, what is the core thing I need to understand, build, implement at the base level, and then we build on top of it. Don't outsource the brain part or the responsibility part. That's still yours. I hope this makes some sense. Well, don't all jump at once. Everyone's like, wait, I sucked at memorizing my times tables.
I was just thinking new math. That's what you're kind of, it's like new math. You can't just write the answer down. You have to explain how you got there, kind of thing. That's the critical thinking part of it.
Yeah.
Like you can memorize it and know that 2 times 2 is 4. But like you said, it's like, how do you know that kind of thing? So
That used to drive me nuts on tests.
show your work.
I didn't get it. I totally get it now. I actually know someone who's a mathematician. Like they're in their 2nd doctorate in, I don't know what, math, like astrophysics level fucking weird math shit. The Goodwill Hunting, writing stuff on the board, math level stuff. And in the context of the equations and theories and thoughts that they're solving for and looking at, the showing the work part is an oversimplification of the principle that it's such a large chain of mathematics that you're calculating, you might get the wrong answer, but it doesn't mean the entire thing is wrong. It's just one piece that you've got to go back and solve.
I was
so right.
Sorry.
So it's like, it's the, well, no, yeah, it's the like, then you don't throw it all out. You go back and say, is there one component? And because you understand it at the base level, and because you show your work, you can do that. That's the critical thinking part. That's the optimization part. And that's how you solve something. And I don't quite get it, but he was making the comment. That's why it's possible. And there are people that have been working on like one math problem for 25 years. Like, I don't even understand how that's possible or what that would have to be. Like, what the fuck are you even solving at that point?
Interstellar.
Right. Now we're in Interstellar range. Best movie ever. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. So here's a thought based on this whole AI conversation, and one of my favorite conversations, or favorite topics, and they're going to link here in a second. With the AI tools we've been talking about and learning to use AI, because when we are talking about learning the tools and all that kind of stuff, and can you make like I was thinking, Bridget, when you were talking about there's so much stuff you're doing AI, does your manager need to do these things because now you've automated it? So I go back to years ago when I was sitting at I think it was one of the first Mind Body Bolds I went to, and the CTO at the time was talking about, now granted it's almost 10 years ago, but still, about technology and how you can embrace technology. You lean into technology and think where we are just 10 years later, And then that way you free up your human resources, because as you said, the one thing that chat can't replace is human beings, at least not yet. So if that's the case, could we lean so far into, and with your custom GPTs and all that stuff, so well, and we're just really getting that human point of it, the touch out there and doing all of that, could we actually abandon social media? Could you have a business today, not a website, not the internet, but just totally not even be, I know we've talked about just not even being on social media anymore. Could you do that? So I'm just curious, is with all,
I didn't see that question coming. I didn't think we were going there. Good one.
yeah, so that's, yeah, so it's like with the toxicity of social media these days, and I'm hearing more and more people are getting off social media, has that seen its kind of day? And what out of the ashes of that, what shift is going to occur there? And how can we leverage AI in our small businesses that we can really lean into that part of it to really free us up for that client experience, the client journey, all of those things we've been talking about for the last, months on the roundups and in our coaching calls. So I'm just throwing that out there as, because, the only reason I'm on social media now is because of the YC. If I didn't have to do it,
Terry,
I'd be off social media. So that's what I'm just wondering aloud. Can we do that? Could we do that? Could a
okay,
business do that?
a thought in a question, right?
Yeah.
A data point. Everyone says they're off social media, and I'm sure someone listening to this would be like, yeah, I'm that person, I'm off of it. Actually, they're probably not listening to this if they are, but whatever. But actually, in the data, that's not true. People say they are, and they're not. They are, in fact, still there. They are, in fact, still using it.
In that fact, they
So,
haven't like gone in and actually deleted their accounts and closed it down.
yes, it's what they mean is I've reduced my consumption of social media and I have become conscious about what I'm consuming, when, and in what way, for what purpose, which I think is healthy. I think people say I'm off social media, but that's actually what they mean. The data would suggest
Otherwise.
even the otherwise, so it's just a thought. But I what's the attachment line? Give me the thread that you're pulling up here. Like, okay, AI, automation, whatever equals
Well, I'm just
maybe
here.
social media is out of the equation. How do we
I'm
bridge
just,
that gap?
yeah, how do we bridge that gap? I'm just thinking, is there a way, like what I was thinking about, Bridget, when you were talking about you created your honey yoga sales custom chat, I'm not saying you abandon marketing altogether, I think you still need to market. However, with leveraging AI, could that help us get smarter about how we're reaching out to clients? For example, we talk ad nauseum about buddy passes. How can we get better at getting people to even use their buddy passes and getting people and when they come in, to convert them? And, so are there things that we could lean into that we can, like, rather than spending all this time and money on a social media ad campaign, we take that resources and we really like hone in on our messaging and talking to the clients and sending those messages like they want to bring their friends and they want to be part of this community. They want to click and buy this thing. And that's what I'm meaning. That's what, and we're sending these really crafted, curated text messages that speak directly to the values of why people want to do stuff, why people should, with their super busy, or this one I always say, I have to cancel my membership or pause my membership because I hurt my back. It's like, that's when you should be coming in every day, twice a day, for a yoga class to help heal your back. So that's what I'm thinking. That's where my head is on all of this, is spend that time and energy just focusing on the people that are there to improve the retention, because we talked about that before. Are these the things we should be spending our time and resources on, so that the people who do come in the door are staying longer than 3 months or 4 months? We're getting them that's where I'm kind of going with. I know it's really scattered and it's a lot of thoughts, but that's really where
No,
I'm thinking.
I'm just trying to discern that attachment line. I get it. Well, my quick thought is like the answer is yes. That is like, should you be spending time and effort there? Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. no doubt has always been true, but it's quadrupled 10x, 1,000 times more true now than ever. The simple fact is, it's much easier to quit a membership than it is to quit a community, but community is a result, it's not an action. And from a marketing standpoint, there's nothing more powerful in marketing than being able to create a movement around something. Because if there's a movement, then I start to create an identity associated with it. And when that happens, it's wildfire. And you don't need the quote traditional sense of marketing, advertising, social media stuff in exactly the same way. Not that you shouldn't do it if that's what's happening for you, but like, yeah, I do think it's possible. I do think it's potentially an angle, but I guess the thing that comes to mind for me is just what is valuable now. If I look at my son or Carol's son's age bracket, what I see coming will be like the social flex will be how small your digital footprint is, not how big it is. And we see it already in a certain age bracket, but even an older age bracket too. Like on one hand, someone's got 1 million followers in a studio. Like literally, we've seen that in a studio, and a bunch of other people are like, "Oh, well, you know, she's got 1 million followers on her Instagram or whatever. She's working in my studio." But behind the scenes, there's someone else who's like, she's got 1 million followers and she's always posting photos or whatever. Like, isn't that silly? And there's a sort of a judgment against it. And so I'm not here to judge either way, but rather to suggest that it's in our psyche already that these things that we've culturally valued are not actually valuable the way we think that they are. And so there's always going to be this oscillation, this counterculture movement. And I think that is one of them. But then the question is, what's left? Human connection, real communication, and also internal personal introspection, awareness, spiritual work. Mental health, these things, these are all trending too. A studio is in a position, is poised to potentially be a great component of that, of the non-social media, non-superficial, whatever, the real connection, the real work part, because studios always have been. It's always been like that in a Pilates studio. It's always been like that in a yoga studio. It's just, so now, I mean, more than ever, I just feel like that's the leverage that's inherently there if you can leverage it, which goes back to what we were saying earlier with Carol. It's like, then if you got someone on your fucking team that says, well, I don't want to talk to Terry when she comes in for her first class because she might not want me to talk to her. Like, holy shit, wake up. If Terry says, please don't talk to me, fine. But what are you talking about? That's your shit. That's your fear. So, I don't know. That was a bit rambly. Go ahead, Bridget.
I don't have anything particularly profound to share, but Terry, I do know 2 really successful studios that pretty much don't use social media at all. So it is totally, I mean, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, not, they definitely, one of them actually has deactivated their Instagram completely. And then one just uses it like very sparingly. And so, you know, it is possible. And then I was also just going to say the old thing that people always say, which is like social media, you know, they come and go, the different platforms, they come and go. You need people's emails and you need their phone numbers, and phone numbers come and go, and so do emails, but those seem to stand the test of time a little bit better than you know, one platform over another. That's all I
I
have.
still have my,
Communication.
yeah, I still have my AOL email address that I've had since 1998.
Yeah,
Oh
I still
my
have,
God,
yeah,
Terry.
Yeah.
mine's really old. I have the same phone number I've had since I was 13.
I wish I kept my California phone number. No, I use my AOL for stuff like studio signups, things like that. I have a Gmail, but anyway.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I'm just gonna
Hmm.
throw this talking about social media and everything, and specifically thinking of you, Josh and Carol, about this. I just watched Netflix's series Adolescence,
Mm, so good.
and it was like interesting. And I was thinking, like, if people who have kids in that age group, is like, how are you handling that? It's just, I don't want to, if you haven't seen it, I don't want any spoiler alerts here, but and I mean, I have known this, is that there's a whole language around emojis, and emojis use, and what we think is good is actually not so good. And I mean, it was just really fascinating to watch. Again, we're talking about social media and the impact of social media on people. And like you said, the moving away from a digital footprint to that movement. I've read that kids are now they don't want smartphones, or saying, I wish I didn't have a smartphone, just like a flip phone. Because I also recognize in this day and age, kids almost have to have phones, you know.
Yeah.
So that's just a rant. I mean, that's just totally off topic, but that's all of this has been, that's why a lot of this has been percolating, because I did just watch that series last weekend. And it's really interesting.
Mm.
Have you seen it, Josh and Carol?
I haven't watched it yet. I've been told I
No.
need to like really mentally prepare
Yes.
myself. So
Particularly since you have a son in that age, and that that age range. It's just,
yeah.
interesting. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
And what's coming up for me in this discussion is I'm thinking how, I think Josh, you triggered it when you said something about movements, and how right now it seems so many like really big movements are happening on TikTok with the younger generation. And so like, and I also think about how when I scroll TikTok, it's entertainment. Like now social media isn't necessarily social. It's like killing time, it's entertainment, things are funny, whatever. You're sending memes to friends. So where I was going with this was, oh, as like a studio, and we've talked about this before, now the playing ground is leveled. Like you can have as much reach as a big company with something that could trend or is funny and that kind of stuff. So I'm looking at how I can't see right now that going off social media as a studio would be a benefit. I think it would be really challenging, but the flip side of that is that you have this really big group that you could, but I'm trying to say is that studios have this potential to reach a lot of people on these platforms that they're not doing anything with, and so I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think that you just have room to grow and um, somebody save me here. I don't know what else to say, but I'm
Well,
just
how about like
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of no, I
Quick.
totally get what you're saying. I'm fired up by it, Carol, or I think I get it. What I am getting from it and what it's like sparking in me is like Terry, be the change you want to see in the world in social media. There is just like that was something I also thought as you were talking, Terry. It's like, yeah, it is. There are toxic areas of social media. I No one believes me, but like my scrolling time, I do not think it is detrimental to me in any way. I follow accounts I'm obsessed with. They inspire me. I learn so much. Yes, do sometimes I'm like, fuck. Like I just like burned a whole day and actually for the last, hour it was a little bit pointless. But whatever, I'm just gonna watch Desperate Housewives or like Real Housewives of Orange County anyway. And I like there is so much. It's not it isn't going away. Like it's not going away. And we're gonna experience so many different iterations of it. And studios actually can be a totally non-toxic area of social media and like influence generations that maybe, their first thought isn't, I'm going to go to a yoga studio. So yeah, I'm with you, Carol. If that was at all what you were.
No, thank you. That's perfect.
I think social media is a fascinating subject psychologically because of both good and bad, how revealing it is of the human psyche and the cultural psyche of things, and then therefore how influential, both good and bad. And so
Mhm.
I don't necessarily think that scrolling in itself is totally terrible, asterisks, unless you're doom scrolling. It's like it's the cheap dopamine hit to distract from reality or escape, not decompress or learn or be entertained. Different thing. I mean, when I was a kid, parents complained about kids watching too much TV. And then I'd like a Sega Genesis, and people are like, oh, they're gonna play that Sega Genesis too much. Like, nope. So, anyways, it's different now. I think that if you can keep yourself anchored in reality, then this isn't inherently terrible on its own. I guess what I would add to this conversation, though, around can the studio be on it or not or whatever else, I could make an argument in either way. It's situational. And if you're a new studio, or if you're like a studio in that middle bracket, year 3 to 10, and you're still working on getting your movement going and getting people to find out about you and come in or whatever else, 9 out of 10, stupid move to be like, I'm abandoning social media. Like, you better have another plan because you need exposure. And so, doesn't mean you couldn't do it. It's just, I feel like as a coach, I'm required to say that a little bit here. But here's the other thing that, Carol, you bringing this up that I think is interesting, because you're right, TikTok is where the movements are. And so what's fascinating is it's about trust. Even Google, like if you go back to why Google blew up for search, without going into the technical side of it, it was because it became the most trusted place for you to get the answer to the question that you were asking, to find the thing that you needed. And that's because of the type of algorithm it used, which is actually a specific math equation, which you can track and blah, blah, blah. And it basically, we would say search engine. We should have been saying all the time trust engine. The way that you rank is you were the most trustful place for the answer to the question that it served you up to. That's how you rose to the top. What shifted is as it monetized more and more, and as people figured out how to hack that algorithm, what started to show up, example would be, you're like, if you search best hot yoga New York, the top 3 things that are going to come up are like some fucking listicle from a blogger that has a bunch of affiliate links, and then Yelp, like, and not the answer to the question, not the place that's near you, whatever else. So AI is shifting that too, but that is an example. It's like over time things have shifted. Right now, what we've just gone through is the TikTokification of social media, which has a few elements to it. But I think the fundamental element that we all know, but people aren't entirely adopting in their psyche yet from a business sense, is the idea that social media was originally, think MySpace and Facebook, about connection. It was social, hence the word that we have. That is gone. That is not what it is. I mean, in the same way. Now it's entertainment, which means the value metric isn't the followers, friends, or whatever, it's attention, it's time. So platforms are focused on keeping your eyeballs on the platform as long as possible. Individual accounts are maximized and will get more feed if they can keep your attention longer. If you watch all the way through a video, if you go back and watch it a few times, like that attention is the value point. And so I would propose this thought when you start to look at this stuff, because this ties to the movement thing. Other sources of trust, Google, news, whatever, and other sources of quality entertainment, Netflix, they've gone through a process called enshittification. They are objectively shittier now than they were before. Airlines are the best example of this ever. Airlines are terrible now versus what they were in the past on every measurable metric. And so the result is that YouTube, I think, is playing this game, and TikTok are not competing with Facebook or previously MySpace. They're competing with Netflix, CNN, and blogs. They're the news. It's the most trusted source of news now for half of the people out there. And the entertainment part, it's why Netflix is suddenly putting all these like football and boxing and whatever else on there, because they're dying. And they're not putting the money into development of the shows and stuff like that like they used to. There's exceptions to that, but and part of why they're dying beyond other competition is you're competing with YouTube, you're competing with TikTok. It's a more trusted source for entertainment and news.
I think just from a user side, just really sitting back and it's like kind of yoga awareness, like knowing how the algorithm's going to send you something. If you like it, you're going to get some more of that. So like, I don't know. It's just one of those things too, to looking at the good, the bad, side of it. It's not good or bad. It's just sort of necessary. Knowing that what you're going to be seeing is more of what you want to see, right? So, I like Bridget saying how she's following very specific things that make her happy and bring her joy and are inspiring. And so, as users, I think we just need to keep that awareness too. Random point.
Does anyone know of any yoga or bar or Pilates studio that's doing social media really well, specifically TikTok, but also if anyone was doing Instagram really well, I'd be interested in that.
We get asked this question a lot.
And well, and how do you
Yeah.
define, can I ask a question before you answer that? I'm sorry to interrupt, is how do you define
Yeah,
well?
that's the
Getting a
problem.
lot of views and engagement.
But
Right. But this is the thing. Vanity metrics versus business versus
Yeah.
community building are not the same thing. Carol made this point, and it's actually an extremely important point. It's what's shifted and what people have missed, and it will go away. We'll be here for a while, but it'll go away. Right now, a single account with 10 followers and 14 videos can, in theory, put something out as a reel, but especially as a TikTok, and YouTube's the other platform, and suddenly get 100,000 views. It can take off. That was impossible 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's fascinating. It just means, though, is that in fact valuable now? And it is in one sense, but from a business sense, you could make a very strong debate around depth instead of breadth when it comes to social media. So some of the people, I would say that Hometown Sweat has excellent social media. If you don't live where that studio is and you're not part of that community, you're going to go look at it when I say this right now and be like, this is boring. Because it's not entertainment for that outcome. But I can tell you for a fact, we can track it. I've been there physically in the studio myself where someone shows up and says, I have been following you and seeing that you're putting this stuff out and like that you have one of these 3 core messages. And that's why I'm standing here in the studio right now. And so that business is crushing it. That's one of the components of where they're winning, but they don't have 1 million followers. They don't have any, I don't even think they have a 10,000 view video out there. Maybe they do. So it's a tricky thing to answer from that perspective, I guess I would say.
And I'm going to say right here, straight up, you could have the best social media in the world, but if you get there, people get there and your team's not trained and you're not converting people and they're not having a good client experience, because sometimes I feel on calls, people are so obsessed about being on social media And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Let's just talk about what's happening in the studio. It's almost like, oh, I got to do social media because I don't want to, I don't, this is the problem. I don't have enough people coming in, or I don't have enough followers. But the reality is they're ignoring the real problem because they're choosing the ostrich in the sand about it. So I think the one thing to think about, one of the reasons Hometown Sweat and other of our clients are questioning it is not only that, but because when someone walks through that door, they have such a solid process.
Yeah.
Because that was
If
the case. That's my, and again, one of my soapboxes is, okay, so you got all this content on social media. Is it delivering it? And if they arrive, are you delivering what you're supposed to? Is there a disconnect there? And oftentimes I think there is.
Right. I mean, if the part of social media that's still true, it's like, and one of the theoretical benefits of it is like showing yourself the brand. It's the vibe, it's the feel, it's the who you are. And that should be congruent with what I'm going to actually experience in real life. Even your website, we talk about this. I've seen this before where you've got a studio that's just, it goes both ways. The most beautiful, well polished, perfect photoed website, great wording, whatever else. And you go in and the studio is janky and stinks. You're like, whoa, this is not what I thought I was coming into. And in reverse, the studio's a friggin' spa and their website looks like it's from 2004 and you can't do anything and it loads for 10 minutes and you're like, that's incongruent too. Social media, it's more like that deeper nuance feel. It's the argument for why jumping on trends on social media just willy-nilly without any other thought about it is not usually a great technique. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it or have fun with it. But if you're like the social media persona that your studio has is this like trendy, fun, do whatever, and then I walk in and you're kind of a serious vibe thing, that incongruency feels weird. I think I'm showing up for one experience and I have another. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
Your
I just
specific
want
question,
to say,
Bridget,
yeah.
oh, I was going to say, your specific question, I mean, there are some legacy yoga people, let's use yoga specifically, on
Mm-hmm.
social that are kind of just so far ahead that it's harder for to find the people on the come up. But
Mm-hmm.
like we say a million times, you want to talk about online presence, yoga with Adrienne Mishler,
Oh,
like
right. Of
is
course.
the
Yeah.
fucking monster that's out there. And then
Yeah.
you've got Kino as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And then Laura something. Laura
Yeah.
something and Rachel something. At
Yeah. I
Yoga
know.
Girl. Yoga Girl is
Yeah.
the Rachel
Yoga Girl.
one.
Yeah, I know a lot of like individual yogis who are which are, they obviously have like all of them have like organizations at this point. I just want to say to go back to my point that views do matter even if you are like reaching a lot of people because if you so like we put out reels and stuff and we have 3,000 followers on Instagram, and some of our reels only get to 200 people. So views matter, even if 9,000 of the 10,000 people who saw your reel are not your followers or not in your local area. If you do get a viral reel, the people in your area and of course the people who are following you it's going to get pushed to them more because it's a popular thing. So that's why I would say getting like great views on your reels matter even if they're being sent out because you want the algorithm to like you because then the people who are following you actually see what you're putting. It's so annoying when I
Yeah.
like spend all my time doing these reels and they're just about our specific stuff, but I want all 3,000 of our followers to see my fucking little Mexico retreat reel. And they
I've
don't.
got a challenge question or a challenge thought on this for you. I agree and I totally get it. This TikTokification move has prioritized attention and time more than ever before. And you got to look at it like anything that you put out, if it was, this is the tough part. This is in business everywhere. Like there's just the fucking truth sometimes. Now, algorithms are some BS sometimes too, but there's just the truth of like, if you tell me you've got the best yoga teachers on the planet and they're the most trained and they care the most and they are the best at getting students to blah 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 blah, and then all of their classes are only 30% full,
Mhm.
and their retention rate is below 50%, like objectively that can't be true. If you really honestly have the best product and the best teachers, why isn't it fucking wildfire, right? That's the tough part. Right now, social media, especially video content, is absolutely that case.
Mhm.
If you put something out, and as a business owner, I want my 3,000 followers that have worked to get to follow me to see my content, but that's not what's being prioritized anymore. What's being prioritized is I'm going to show the thing that other people in fact interact with,
Mhm.
because that's the voting for it being the quality piece. And so if we have a studio right now that I'm working with, they are posting 2 to 3 times a day as a new
Mhm.
studio. They have a person hired to do that. They've been doing it for about 6 months of time, and they are just struggling. They do not have people coming into the business and stuff. So as much as I'm a proponent of volume, when we go and objectively look at what they're posting, they indexed so hard towards volume that they just abandoned quality. There's nothing compelling about a single post. And I don't even have to have an opinion on that. We can prove it in their data and just say, like, yeah, sure, you're posting this stuff. But clearly, nobody gives a shit because no one is interacting with these. You've got 1 like on a post and 2 views and 0 comments, no shares across the last 45 posts, 0.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
that the challenge part is like, or the realization is, there's a business entitlement sometimes. I have it too, where I'm like, I want all 3,000 of my people to see this.
Yeah, yeah.
This to me is parallel with the idea like, oh, I don't want to over send messages during an intro funnel to someone who's on my intro because I don't want to spam them or annoy them.
Yeah.
One of the arguments against that, amongst other things, would be you basically just told me what you're going to send them is spammy and shitty and a waste of their time. Like if you're actually sending something that's good, why would you be scared of sending them the thing?
Mhm. Yeah, no, 100%. That is like what I'm saying is my Mexico reels aren't good enough, and that's why views matter. Like you need to make a
Yeah.
reel that is so interesting to people that beyond just my community is interested in it, because that's the only way the algorithm is going to give it to, the major like more of my followers. But yeah, it's
Well,
issue.
yeah, distribution, reach, etc. Yes, I would just suggest only that two thoughts about this, that like it's probably not kind of as bad as you think, so to speak. If you have only 500 people that see something and 50% of them in fact then end up participating with you in some way, you could also have a 10,000 view thing, but you only get the same actual number of people who, in fact, come and do something with your business, which is the objective of the business. If it's not like, hey, I'm trying to become a business who's also an influencer.
Yeah.
And that subtlety is an important one because it decompresses it a little bit. It's totally possible. This happens all the time where people get a lot of traction on social media. They do have videos that blow up. They do go after the effort of becoming a content creator and doing that. And then they struggle to fully monetize it because what they realize is they're good at getting the attention part, but they're not good at the transitioning it to the business part. And so if you're just trying to be a content creator, attention is the only thing to solve for at first. If you run a brick and mortar yoga studio, it's not to say to not to do that and get more distribution. I agree with you completely. It's just also like what you're really targeting is a little different. I'd rather put a post out and have 2 people see it and have both of them show up on my membership than put a post out and have 10,000 people see it and have none.
Yeah.
Second point, though, equally as important, you used the number 200 earlier. Have you ever stood in front of 200 people and given a speech?
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
That's a fucking lot of people.
A lot of people.
It's a
Totally.
lot of people.
Yeah.
And I would, as a marketer, I'm like, put me in front of the right 50 people and let
Yeah.
me go for an hour. That's a dream. That's a dream marketing scenario for me.
For sure.
It's not 10,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I would also do the 10,000 thing. Let me hear. If anyone's listening to this and you need someone on a stage, you got 10,000 people and you want to hear a good story, I'll do it. I'll be I'm your dude. But you know the point. It's like it because we're comparing to some hypothetical influencer situation and the tens of thousands or millions or whatever, we forget like, wait, no, 100 human beings watched this video all the way through. That's a lot.
Definitely.
Yeah. Interesting. For studios, from a distribution, attention, whatever standpoint, unfortunately, it's like you'd have to look at like Yoga Works and Core Power or Yoga to the People, maybe not so much anymore, but in the past. But then you've got to realize it's like they have a different network effect that's happening because of the size of things.
Yeah.
That single location yoga studio situation is totally crushing it. In the day, Carol, what was it called? I think they were in Austin. Blackbird, might have been called Blackbird Yoga or something like that.
I don't know what.
Yeah, I thought you might. Anyways, for a while that place was crushing it on social media. They blew up nationally for a little bit. And it kind of petered out. You went and watched their account and stuff, and it was like at first it was hard to discern why, but it was more of a timing thing. They were the place that was actually posting video content when no one else was. They were actually doing it 2 to 3 times a day when everyone else was barely doing once a week. They actually had some like consistency in their messaging, so you could sort of get attached to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing for today is we got like 2 minutes left here. All of this, AI, outsourcing, training your team, social media. Could we drop social media? All of this. You could pull this all together and look at like, what do you need to do in your business? And one of the things that had come up, Carol, before we jumped on, brought it up, is this ongoing conversation of conversion and retention. Studio owners say retention, but often what they're describing is actually conversion or sales. I would just expand the thought and say, it's not just, okay, Carol comes in and then do I get her to class 2? And then do I set her the intro? And then do I sell her membership? That's the first thing to solve, because until that's there, you literally do not have a business. If you can't do that right, you're screwed. So that's your starting point. But then it expands in both directions. It's also, well, how did I get Carol to discover my existence? And then warm Carol up to the message that I have so that she has enough trust to actually consider booking a class in the first place. And then did I get her to book the class? And then did I get her to actually physically get to the studio? That's all something to solve. And then on the other side, okay, great, you're on membership. But now, how do I get you to the 3rd, 4th, 5th month? Once you're there, how do I get you to the 2nd year? Once you're there, how do you become a lifetime client, which I would debate is like 3 years plus? Those are also things to solve for here. So I don't know. All of this, I think, social media actually plays into this. AI, 100%. Like now, your ability to create stuff in these areas at speed and volume is exponentially better. Having your team understand that these all matter and getting them to participate. Absolutely. Conversion, retention, what's the most common friction point right now that you guys are seeing or hearing?
You
Good to
mean,
whittle it down to a more single thing.
getting
Anything,
people to convert? What do you mean by specific conversion?
anything. What, like when we talk about retention, this idea of like someone discovers me, they've got to get into the studio, I've got to sell them a thing, I got to get them to the membership, I got to keep them on more months. What's the highest friction thing that you're hearing or seeing in your coaching, Terry?
I'd say the highest, it falls into two categories. Those that have solved for that friction and have trained their team and are doing the things they need to do and are tracking and holding people accountable, they've eliminated that friction point. Those that have not yet, that is still a friction point. It's just like whether it's a traditional intro offer or direct to membership. So for the one, it's just like getting the team trained and getting everybody to buy into that, which, as we know, can be a real struggle and a challenge, particularly if you are still having your teachers do that. That can be a friction point. And then I think the other friction point is even the studios that are doing that super well, really well, and we have those clients for sure, is there seems to it's like that 3 to 4 month mark. It's like we get them in, it's almost like, what are we doing for the nurture, like you said, to get them to that 6 month, that year, that 2 year plus. And we seem to do really good in that beginning period, but then it like just drops off exponentially. And so that's I think for a lot of the studios that are doing, actually getting the conversion, they're getting the numbers there. It's now, what are we going to do to convert them? Because I've done the math on some of the KPIs and stuff. And if just even any studio you pick and you look at the number of cancellations that they have in a month, if you could get, and let's say you have, 10 cancellations a month and your membership which is low. Let's say you have 10 cancellations and your membership's $100. That's $1,000.
Yeah.
If
Tell me about it.
If you could get those 10 people to stay just one more month, that's $1,000. So like looking at sometimes with KPIs, I've done the math for people. It's like, hey, this last year, if you had gotten everybody to stay just one more month, you would have tens of thousands of dollars more, depending upon how many members they have.
So
And
what do you tell them to do, Terry? How do we do it? I want
Well,
1,000.
what I tell people to do is some of it, this is where it's like the product is dialed in. We've talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
The teachers are actively having conversations. I know, Carol,
Yeah,
you've seen
I like
this,
that angle.
is that we go into these on-sites and we sit there, a little fly on the wall, and listen. And the conversations teachers are having with people. Now, I'm not saying these aren't important, because it builds that personal connection community, but how's your dog? How's your kid? How's this? How's that? And all the times I've been at yoga studios on site listening, I can tell you, I actually can remember count them, two conversations where the yoga teacher said, hey, Bridget, I know, how's your rotator cuff? I know you had surgery a couple of months ago. What are you seeing in class? Or, hey, Carol, how's your blood pressure doing? You mentioned that your blood pressure, how's the yoga help with your blood pressure? Those are the things I think that are fundamentally missing, is that we get to be a few people. And actually just heard from a studio director, just had some feedback, and one of her teachers said that one of the things about her studio, she said it's very cliquey, and that just sort of blew the studio owner's mind, because that it becomes a little bit like high school. Who are the cool kids? Who are the cool, that kind of thing. So I think that with the community part of it, I don't think you've gotten people to really buy into the community that point. And then part of that is connecting when they're there, reaching out. Again, a text, a phone call. I know I get chided for this all the time because I'm a boomer, is I do think phone calls still work, even if you leave a voice note, a voicemail, and then you have a lot of people now have voice to text. They're getting that, they're reading it, they're hearing it. I think those things still have great value. I think recognizing, what about, I have a client that's going to start doing this. She ordered What about a little note at month? If you know that your average people months on membership is 3 or 4, whatever it is, the client now is going to have a personal note, handwritten, stamped, addressed, and mailed to that person saying, hey, Josh, can you believe you've been coming for 4 months? We're so excited you're part of our community. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for taking care of yourself. And it's signed Terry Fry.
Yeah.
Now, what does that, I get a lot of pushback on that. What does that entail? Oh, that means that in those first 4 months, you got to be getting client data. You got to be, hey, what's your home address? You know, what's this? What's that? You got to be getting that information in your system so that then you can effectively communicate with them.
Yeah.
I mean, those are just a few things
No, I like that. I'm gonna start. I've got a couple
And
things.
with the note cards, we talked about this a long time ago. If you haven't read the book Giftology, it's a great little book. It's like a couple, you can read it in like 2 hours, is make those note cards. Don't make them branded. I did that. I wish I hadn't. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you're out and about, like at the dollar store, you just buy some little note cards and they
Yeah.
can all be different. And then get fun stamps at the post office, right? Go
Yeah.
get the fun forever stamps and things like that. Very simple, a little bit of time, and I think it is such a high impact. When was the last time you actually got a handwritten note card from somebody? I think that nowadays has such high impact.
Yeah, I love that.
So that's my rant on that.
And also, I'll just say really quickly, that's the answer to your question that people ask every single day. Studio owners ask this every day. What should my front desk staff be doing
They could be doing.
during class? Okay, well, first of all, I'll send you my 4-page list of the things my front desk staff does.
Yeah.
And also they can be writing notes.
Right, because again, as the owner, you don't necessarily have to write all the notes. You could
No.
have like several curated messages that they just do. And it could be signed, they could sign it the owner's name, or they could sign it, the owner and Bridget. I
Yeah.
mean, you're getting the note from not just the owner, but I do think those little notes and things like that.
100%.
Again, if you hear someone in your community that's like someone's in the hospital or has passed away, or you get that then you could send like a get well card. You could send like a sympathy card.
Mhm.
That's what creates that. One of my, NT from FitGrid, one of his words, stickiness. That's what really creates, and that's where you don't quit the community.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So,
Well, what I'm hearing you say, and I agree completely, it goes back to something we've been talking about. It's like, it's a human connection question.
human connection.
100%.
Again, people are looking for something in the realm of like, send them a t-shirt on month 3 and that's going to increase your retention.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe, but realistically, no, I don't. That by itself isn't the thing. It's more
Yeah.
like, am I compelled? Do I feel like I'm part of something? Am I compelled to come back in? That human connection part, I think, is hyper valuable.
100%.
I would just add the only other category, and it's a conversation maybe for next week, is like, and we did mention product, like make your product better. But again, if it's like, I like coming to your studio, it's fun for me, it's easy for me to get in there, easy like psychologically, right? If
Yeah.
I feel so good afterwards and I can see that I'm making progress in my life as a result, I'm getting actual tangible fucking result. If that's all happening, like, why would I quit? Because then quitting would be a cost to me. I would have to sacrifice those things. When someone cancels their membership, it's because they've lost sight of that or it's not happening for
Mhm.
them. And instead, they don't view it as no cost to them to quit. It's a cost for them to continue. And you know what that sounds like? Hey, Terry, what's your reason for canceling? Money. It's too
Scheduled.
expensive. It's scheduling different, whatever. That's what that sounds like.
well, and
It's not money. It's not scheduling. Not 90% of the time. It's this
Those are
isn't valuable
excuses.
enough.
Yeah.
They're basically saying like one of two things. Either I kind of just don't give a shit anymore, or they're saying I'm paying this money and whatever benefit it's giving me is not worth $100. It's not worth $150. I mean, think about that for a second. I'm paying you $150. It's in the grand scheme of things, not that much money. And I have access to an entire month of unlimited classes for that. And I'm saying to you, I'd rather save that $150.
Do something else. There's my thought. It's
It
like,
hurts my feelings.
yeah. With a drop-in class, I say this to my clients a lot. If the only reason if you should not be able to convert a drop-in is if they truly are from out of town, right? So if someone local comes to your studio and you can't convert them on the drop-in, then you need to figure out how to do that better. And then the other thing, in my opinion, the only reason why someone would actually cancel Yoga Minute if they're getting all the value and, like you said, life transform is because they're moving. Right? It's like if people really see the benefit, that they're going to continue to pay. They'll find the money, they'll find the time. Lack of money, lack of time. I don't think those are valid reasons. And which is also another soapbox of mine, is everybody is so much about their cancellation funnel. If you put half that energy into getting a retention funnel to start, you probably wouldn't have to spend so much time on the cancellation funnel. Because I always think by the time they cancel, it's too late. It's like you should have been doing stuff a month or two before.
Yeah, it's not that you don't do something there, but it's why the save rate is low, because the decision is already made. It's too late.
Decision's already made.
Conversation's too late.
Yeah, the conversation.
Okay, well, I think that's it for today.
Is that a wrap?
That's a wrap, because we got a whole nother rabbit hole to go down here otherwise.
And I want to talk about that more. So I want to talk about retention again next week, hopefully.
Tune in next week where we
Tune
talk
in
about
next week.
retention and how to get people to stay on your membership for 1,000 years.
And that's a wrap on this week's Weekly Roundup. Tune in every Friday and make sure to subscribe to Studio Cult TV on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you're listening from. See you next week. Peace.
Bye.